We ready?
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Hello and welcome to Kankakee Podcast, where we talk about the people and places of Kankakee County. I'm Jake Lamore, and I am excited about this episode. I am going to be, of course, I always try to be as honest as possible, right? But I'm going to be brutally honest with this episode. This started with Jesse Erickson, who is the COO of Pathfinder,
the instigator
here.
of all things.
I got a text message from Jesse one day. He said, "You need to have Jess Wright from Urban Barbershop on the podcast."
He sent that to you while he was in the chair.
That's what I figured. Yeah, that's what I figured, and I'm like, okay. And I mean, obviously I know who or knew who Jess was even before he sent me that text. We've known each other for a little while. You and Jess know each other better. But the exchanges that I've had with you and your husband, Scott, wonderful guy. He's been a huge support of the podcast ever since we started.
Yeah.
Yourself too. So anyway, it started with that. So he's like, he sent me a text, Jesse did, while he's apparently sitting in your barber chair.
Oh yeah.
And he says, book an episode of Kankakee Podcast with Jess. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I think it was that day or the following day I messaged you on Facebook.
It was very soon after.
It was very soon. And you're like, gosh darn it, Jesse, I told you no. I told him no. I did not want to be on the podcast.
Who wants to hear what I have to say for a whole hour?
He was very insistent.
Oh, he told me that. He was like, you're not getting out of this. Those are his exact words.
Yeah. So, what I knew about you before this text exchange with Jesse was that you had been running you and Scott, your husband, had been running Urban Barbershop for 5, 6.
So we are coming up on 5 years, I believe, in March.
Okay, so I wasn't far off. So
oh yeah, it's crazy. It's even been that long.
Right? Yeah, I know, because we don't have to talk about the reason why it feels longer than that. But so anyway, so I knew that, and so fast forward a week from this text exchange, a week or two, and I usually have weekly meetings with Jesse, and I asked Jesse. I said, okay, I've got Jess booked for an episode, but I want some inside information from you. I said,
man, there's no telling what he said.
I said, can you tell me? I was like, Jess better than I do because you get your haircut there. I said, what made you want to have her on the podcast?
Because he knew it would make me uncomfortable.
I wish he was here right now because I think this would just really make this so good. That really could be. Maybe this is just punishment. But he said, well, she just has a lot of interesting things to say.
Oh my gosh.
And he said that she seems to know a lot of things too.
I know nothing. That's the problem.
So here we are.
I talk about all things that I know nothing about.
So, all that aside, even before Jesse even approached me and said, you need to have Jess Wright on the podcast, I definitely thought it was a good idea even before he said that to me. But, I just really want to know specifically, since he knew you better, it's like, what is, So I'm asking you, why do you think, besides the fact that, you think he wanted to punish you, which there is a good chance because Jesse does like to play like that.
He likes to play.
Yeah. Besides the fact that he wanted to punish you, what do you think the true reason is that he made this?
I don't know. When me and Jesse have our haircut appointments, we talk a lot about the things that I guess, you guys talk about a lot, with just the excitement and the growth with just our street and our area. And so maybe he thought that I would be someone to talk to about that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, you do offer, I mean, you're a local business owner right in the heart of downtown Kankakee.
Yeah, we love being there.
Yeah. And you represent multiple communities, just from your race background, onto being, well, I suppose that ties in with race too. You know, Scott is white, you're black, so there's that cultural integration there. Yeah. So, and you own like I said, you own a successful business in downtown Kankakee. So I think that is another reason why he wanted you on. Okay,
we'll go with that. We'll just agree with that.
I guess that's a good enough reason.
We'll give him the shadow of the doubt. Okay.
So are you born and raised in the area, or?
So yes, I've actually been born and raised in Kankakee County. So I grew up a little bit in Bradley, a little bit in Bourbonnais, a little bit in Kankakee, a little bit in Herscher and Limestone.
Oh, wow. What brought you out there?
So my stepdad at the time, he went to school in Herscher. And so he had always wanted to move our family out there. And so we were living in Bradley at the time. And so when it came time for like high school, we ended up building a house in Limestone. And then, we all started going to Limestone and Herscher. So I graduated from Herscher High School.
Okay.
2010.
Is that where Scott went to?
No, husband? He's a BB boy. So his whole life they've lived in Bourbonnais.
Okay. So what's your maiden name?
So my maiden name is Mobbs.
Mobbs. Okay.
/ Bernicke. Yes.
Okay. I don't think I'm familiar with.
Yeah, we're nobodies. There's not
no, that's not true. I just, I mean, has your family been in the area for a long time?
Yeah, Bradley, actually, so Jess Bess.
Jess?
Yes. So
Jessica
Bassett, my mom's stepdad is a Bassett. So
oh, no way.
All of my aunts and uncles are, except for my mom, they're all Bassetts. So I guess that would be like also our last name.
Wow.
I know. Small.
I didn't know you had a connection to Bess.
She probably doesn't either.
I bet she knows. I hope she's listening to
Howard
this.
Bassett.
I'm gonna send this to her and say, hey, or I'll text her after we're done recording this podcast. Say, hey, did you know?
I know
you're related to
She's
Jess?
Gonna be like, who is that?
The two Jesses.
The two Jesses.
Yeah, but you're a Jessica too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep.
But anyway, so you and your husband met in high school, right? Or was it afterwards?
We grew up together, really. So we, our parents were friends forever, like before we were born in youth group together. And then we've just been born and raised in the same church. So.
What was the church?
The Church of God Worship Center in Bourbonnais over on Cardinal.
Okay. That's still there, right?
Yep, it's still there. Yep, that big brown one. Next to the fancy where Logan goes, the river. Next to the rich people church.
I know which one. I thought that was the one you were referring to.
That's what we always have to say. We're like, it's the one next to River Valley.
Because they first think you're talking about River Valley.
I know, but like Church of God's been there first, so.
Right, yeah.
Whatever.
Well, River Valley Christian Fellowship
They're doing the most over there.
You guys don't cross paths over there?
No, it's just the running joke. We always say that we'll just end up being like attached to them at some point if they keep like expanding closer.
It is a big, big church.
No, they do good over there.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad it's all in good fun.
Yeah.
How did you get into being a barber?
So I've been to beauty school many times. So it was not a direct path by any means. I started in high school going to Career Center, and I really just started it because I'm like, ooh, that's like a cool girl job. And so
and that was it.
That was literally it. The girls that I thought were super cute and fun in school, like that's what they were doing. So I'm like, oh, I'll do that. Well, I went for 2 years, loved it, actually got all of my hours, finished, could have just started doing hair after that, but I felt like I knew that I wanted to do bigger things with hair, and I didn't feel like I knew enough just right out of that. So my mom actually was like, hey, would you ever consider maybe trying like one of these private cosmetology schools, which honestly I didn't even know existed at the time. And so I was like, yeah. So she had been doing research. There was a Paul Mitchell school.
The one here locally? Yeah,
that's the one I actually ended up going to. Okay. We toured the one in Chicago. But me and Scott were dating at the time. And so I'm like, I don't want to leave my boyfriend. So
and it's a good thing you didn't, because right. Obviously you're married now, kids and all. So I ended up going to the one in town, Trendsetters. Loved my time there. Met this guy, Gil Castro, who does hair up in Chicago. And so I interned with him and everyone at his salon for a little over a year. Me and Scott got married, and I was driving up there multiple times a week making negative money. And if I'm not mistaken, from having conversations with Scott, you guys moved up there, right?
We always have planned on moving up there.
Oh, you didn't move up there?
We never actually did. We always really wanted to. But after a while of being up there, I did end up finally just coming back down here. But up there is where I decided like, oh, I might want to start doing men's hair, because they had this amazing barber there. And I would just shadow him and, assist him. And so that's kind of when I started getting like, okay, I don't like doing color. I don't really like doing women's hair as far as the chemical side. So and
that's almost unavoidable.
I mean, this day and age, if you're going to be a cosmetologist and you want to make any kind of money, you have to be good at hair color.
And most everyone wants that.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. I mean, most women want a hair color.
Yeah. There's just too much math and science involved in that. That is not my strong suit.
Not good with the chemistry.
Absolutely not. Technical skills, I got it. Anything else? No.
Yeah.
So yeah, and just from there, I started working back in town, and I worked at Great Clips, Sport Clips, JCPenney. I've been through.
Did JCPenney they had a place to do hair?
Did?
That's right. I forgot about. Sometimes I think, if I remember correctly, my mom, we would enter into JCPenney.
Yeah, through like that back door.
That back door. Sometimes we go and be like, this is weird. Right. So
it was weird.
Yeah, right. I completely forgot about that. Man, you're just opening all kinds of memories in my brain.
Oh my gosh. I didn't work there I didn't work at any of those places except for Sport Clubs for very long, but I'm grateful for those places for teaching me how to cut men's hair, because when I tell you the amount of hair that I messed up.
Men's hair or just women?
Men's hair, yeah.
How did you, what were your mess ups?
Oh, I will never forget one of the first times I ever messed up anyone's hair. And it was actually when I worked in Chicago. And I was so excited to be an assistant. I was the best assistant. Everyone wanted me. I loved my job. And so the owner, God bless, I love her so much. She was like, you know what? I think you're ready to have your own chair. And I did not agree with her, but I did it.
That's usually how it works.
I know.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for her, I'd probably still be an assistant to this day. I would have never moved up.
It's a common theme for the more the people that are like a couple steps above us, or maybe even more than a couple steps. They're like, they come to you one day and they're like, you're going to do this.
Yeah,
and you're like, no, I'm not.
No, I am not.
But
just like this podcast.
just like this podcast. Nailed it right on the head. Thank you, Jessie.
Oh, my goodness.
So she's like, you are ready for this chair.
You got this. You're good. Here's your chair. And so a girl came in, and of course, this is downtown Chicago, Pilsen area. She wanted this fun, funky, razor cut haircut. And I had no idea how to do that yet. And so I remember I was just sweating. I didn't say 2 words to her the whole haircut. And by the end, I remember I asked her, I was like, what do you think? And she's like, it's not the best haircut I've ever gotten. And I went into the back room and I sobbed for a good time.
That's hard.
But those are every hairstylist has a story like that. It's You never forget it, and it makes you better throughout your year because you never want it to happen again.
Was that one of those haircuts where it's like you got a buzz?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of on the side.
Yeah,
but then
like she wanted like a tail and like spiky. Oh, she did the most.
So like a unicorn.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. She wanted everything. She wanted it all.
Can you change my face while you're at it too?
Right.
Oh, man. So, but what about when it came to a men's haircut though? I mean, I feel like
there were so many.
You have perfected your barber craft to where you just make it look so easy for, but it's really not. It really isn't
That's amazing
easy.
that you think that I make it look really easy.
You do
I
make
feel
it
like
look
I make
easy.
it look way more difficult.
But see, I know it's not though. I know it's not easy. There's a science.
There is a severe learning curve. So one of my first bald fades, if you can even call it that.
A bald fade?
Was actually on Scott.
So
oh my God.
What's a bald fade?
Okay. So bald fade is just like a zero, and it just kind of like gradually gets longer on top. So it's
when you say a zero, you're talking when you've got the clippers.
Stubble.
And there's, right. Okay.
Just very, very short where there's no hair to where there's hair, Mm-hmm. So if you can perfect, like the barber's goal is to perfect a bald fade, And so I had no idea how to cut men's hair. And for some reason, Scott let me do one on him in our kitchen of our first apartment ever. And it took like 2 hours. And I stopped and cried like every 5 minutes. And it was like one side was like a half and the other side was like a zero. So they weren't even the same length of hair. Oh, and then I took a picture of it and posted it. I was proud of it. So, oh my God, I don't know what was wrong with me.
Do you still have that picture?
Absolutely. And every time it pops up, I have to reshare it. It's because it's so horrendous.
Yeah.
And he didn't say a word. He wore it. He didn't even change it. It was awful.
What a good partner.
Man, I'm telling you, he puts up with a lot.
What other haircuts did you give Scott?
Scott has had all the haircuts.
I was going to say, I have seen him in so many different styles to where I feel
most of the time it's not his choice.
So because he had a ponytail for a while, right?
He did.
And a ponytail, a man bun.
Yeah.
And I remember in those times, when he started wearing those, I didn't recognize him.
Most of the time he gets what I give him. Most of the time. Yeah. He's growing it out begrudgingly right now. He does.
Okay.
He's begging me for haircuts, but
I see.
That's not an option for him right now. He has to grow it out.
So you do control his hair?
I do have some say. He will threaten to get it cut, but I know that he won't. So he has to put up with what I give him.
So, what is the environment like working in downtown Chicago it was a salon?
A lot
right? It wasn't a barbershop. It was a salon.
It was a salon. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot like working in downtown Kankakee, actually, which is super fun. Just all different kinds of people from just everywhere. I was super, super blessed to be in a really well-rounded shop where they were kind of good at everything. And they would do, some celebrities' hair. The plain white tees would come in there.
Oh, that's awesome. Just
super cool.
Tom Higginson has been to my house.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I've got his number, but I don't have my phone with me.
He should have been here on the podcast too.
He's one of the nicest guys I've ever met.
just as a teenager, because I was
this would have been
young.
For time
Yeah,
frame,
I think I might have been 19, 20.
Okay.
And just my dream, and so they would have, there's this little group, 3 or 4 of them in the salon that would go do backstage hair at House of Blues or, the Lollapalooza. Awesome. So that was super, super fun to see. And, a lot of what I would love to bring here with Merchant Street and
that's a good idea.
To do some kind of collaboration.
Brian, we're making a mental note of that right now for Merchant Street next year.
How fun would that be? Oh.
Did you yourself do any of that backstage hair?
I begged. I begged. They told me no.
Do you remember the ones you tried for? Any of the artists?
Literally anything. There was Dashboard Confessional, which me and my husband are huge Chris Carrabba fans. And I remember Gil, the main guy that I assisted, he told me he was going to do Chris Carrabba's hair at the House of Blues. And I begged him to go. And not only did he tell me, he was like, no, like it's hard enough to get passes for me, you know. And then he was like, yeah, I don't really care for dashboard. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Then send me.
Send me. So I can just sit there and breathe on the back of his neck.
Right. Well, I mean, he is a very attractive man. So, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Super fun. I always say, like, I learned everything I know from those wonderful people at BCS Salon. Shout out.
Mm-hmm. So you came back here eventually, and time frame wise, when would that have been when you came back to the Kankakee area and started working at different places?
I was there about a year and a half, maybe.
Okay.
And it really boiled down to I was married and I needed to start making money.
Yeah.
So.
And this would have been the early 2010s or the mid
2012. 2013-ish.
Okay. That's when you came back?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then what led up to the point of going on your own?
Oh, man. So that was never the intention.
No. What was the intention?
If you haven't noticed by now, I will not do anything on my own. Someone has to shove it in my face or push me into the street to make me do anything.
So like how Jesse got you on this podcast.
Unfortunately, the people closest to me know that that's what I need.
So let me guess, in the barber shop, owning your own barber shop, that was Scott.
Yes.
Your husband.
So it got to the point. So me and Cody Blake, so we went to barber school together. That's how we met. And then we worked in the Legacy Barbershop for Joe Bruce in the basement of the Majestic. So Cody worked there for about 8 months. I was there for maybe like 4 or 5 months. And so the owner, or Joe, so he wanted to kind of move on to other things. He does marketing things. And so he pretty much gave me the opportunity, like, hey, I'm going to close the shop. Like, that's going to happen. But would you like to purchase like the chairs, the stations? And I had him on speakerphone at the time, and Scott's sitting right next to me, and he's like vivaciously mouthing like, yes, like do it, say yes. And I'm looking at him terrified, like, no. So I was like, okay, you know.
Okay.
So, and then he was kind of in the process of sort of moving upstairs to where our space previously was, right before where we're at now. So that was kind of already in the works. And so I kind of like took over / started doing our own thing. And so Kat, I worked with Kat for a long time at Sport Clips. We just stayed friends. And so that's just, they both came with me.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's just insane how things work out. This was never the intention. It was kind of like, do this or go work back at Sport Clips. And it's just amazing how things just turn out. Yeah.
And at this point, because you did go to barber.
Yes.
School.
So after Trendsetters, there was not a barber school around. So I did hair, but I really never did women's hair outside of being in Chicago. I came back to Kankakee just doing men's hair, but I could never take that next step until we had a barber school. So as soon as Paul Mitchell School opened their barber program, I jumped right in. Since I was licensed with the state already, I only had to go for 500 hours as opposed to going for 1,500. So I got to,
gosh.
Yeah, I know.
That's a lot.
People that do hair, man, if they can stick it out, like they put in the work. So I did that. And then, yeah, that's when I got to use my straight razor. And I was excited to bring that to the area because I really didn't realize that was kind of a lost thing around here. So that was fun to be able to bring back.
I was a part of Kankakee Valley Theater Association's production of A Few Good Men, and it's a military show if you're not familiar with A Few Good Men. And I remember all of us from the cast, all the guys were booked for appointments at Eric's Barbershop in Bradley. And that was the first time I ever had he would do straight razor.
He
shave.
is like one of the only people in this area, yes, that still uses a straight razor.
Yeah. And you, right? Do you use a straight, right?
Yes, me and Cody, we do straight razor, hot towel. And yeah, it's so fun. I don't know why any barber wouldn't want to use that.
Well, what do you think? I mean, what's the technique behind that? Why do you think the art is lost for a while?
I could not tell you. I used to think it was insurance. But I mean, that's not outrageous. I think it's a skill.
Was it Sweeney Todd that kind of
just deterred everyone? Could be. I mean, it is a very particular skill, and I could see how it would be difficult, if you're just trying to pump people out. But for us, we really think that the whole just all around culture of barbering is just super cool and should be kept around. And, we don't pump out haircuts, in 15, 20 minutes. Like, we really enjoy like our time with our clients and being able to tailor each haircut. And, that's all the fun of it. Why take that away? What is the big difference between going to barber school and going to, beauty school, that kind, or cosmetic, Yeah, the real difference is, in barber school, you do learn everything still. So you still learn about all the muscles, the bones, skin, chemical services. You're still learning how to do blowouts, and but it's just more focused on men's styles, men cuts. Whereas beauty school, you do learn men's cuts. However, that would be more considered like a specialty class, which means like you would really just be in a classroom with a teacher for about 2 hours. And it would be like, okay, so we're going to do a 2 and finger length. And you do that on a mannequin head. And then you're, released to the clinic floor to like do what you've learned in 2 hours on men that are there and willing. Yeah, right. To get their $8 haircut or whatever it is they're charging. Yes, exactly. And that's what I tell people that come into the shop that, they get so furious and they don't have really much patience for bad haircuts. But I'm like, you have to know that like, and I can say this because I've been there and I did it. Those girls that are usually working at places like that, they are learning and they're learning on you. And, there's a reason why it's so cheap and the reason why it's so quick. So they're taking the risk. Yeah, exactly. And they have to start somewhere. Otherwise, have to start somewhere. If they don't start there, they don't learn. And that was the case for me. Absolutely. What is the big technique of mastering a straight razor? So you know what? It varies from like person to person, which is another reason why I like it so much. So, a lot of people that we have that come in every week, a couple times a week for a straight razor shave is because, some guys find that growing a beard, if they go to shave it themselves, they feel like they get, bumps, razor burn, and so they come to us and it's just a lot more catered to you, your skin, the way your hair pattern grows. I tell people that, there's a reason why when we do it, you're not getting bumps. It's because when we have, the skin products that we use, a shaving oil, hot towel, we're softening the skin, prepping the skin for a shave. I can see underneath your neck all of your cowlicks. Beards have cowlicks. A lot of people don't know that. I've got one right here. Every single beard is unique and it has hairs that grow different ways. And, we can see and cater to that shave where, you can't necessarily see, underneath your throat, which makes sense. I mean, mine is pretty visible every time I look in the mirror. It's actually makes me self-conscious on my right. Swirl. On my right, it's a massive swirl right here on my right side, and I've always been, and that's what we love. We love when people come in like. Is there anything you can do about a colic in a beard? Yes, there is. There's ways that we can cut it to where you don't even notice it. That's what's fun about it. I love that. And then as far as caring for a beard, how does that work? How should a person be taking care of their beard? And when I say person, I mean me. Like, I'm the one who really wants to know. I know I don't know. I mean, I hear about
beard oil and things
Everyone
like that.
hears about beard oil. And you know what? There's a difference between beard oil and beard balms. A lot of people don't know.
Like beard soap or conditioner, right?
Yeah. So I always just say, you can keep it simple as long as you don't have sensitive skin. You can use mild shampoos on your face or, as long as your beard doesn't get itchy or flaky. But a lot of people do have really sensitive skin on their face, especially underneath their beard. And so I always recommend like an oil that gets to the skin. If you have a thicker, more coarse beard, like a beard balm, using conditioner in the shower on your beard to help kind of soften it and help lay things down so you don't need trims as often if you're trying to grow it out. There's a lot of things.
Yeah. And one of the many people whose beard always looks right on point is, we were talking about him before we started recording, and that's Dwayne Vadbunker.
Oh, yes.
Because it's
been a labor of love. So it's funny. It's become almost like a part of who he is now is his beard.
Dwayne Vadbunker of iFix and Splitting Targets and, Damn Tap now.
What doesn't he run now?
If you've never met Dwayne in any fashion, I'm giving you permission to stalk him on Facebook and look at his beard.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I have known Dwayne and Brittany for years and years and years and years. I worked at Sport Clips and they actually came to the shop to fix my phone. And so that's
how that started.
And that is how we became friends.
And they've been great at fixing my phone or
oh my gosh, the amount of times.
Phone.
That's why we had to reschedule the first time.
Oh, that's right. That happened to us.
So he can fix my phone.
Yes. Yeah, we were supposed to record some weeks ago and your phone decided to take a dump.
Literally turned black and that was all.
Yeah. That's how I feel sometimes. My eyes just turn black. And I'm done. So if you ever see that happen to me, it's normal.
I'll understand. I'll just call Dwayne.
Yeah, just Dwayne knows where my reset button is. He'll get me back.
He's got a very significant, long, bushy beard, and I love it. And it's taken so many years to get it to where it is today. So it is possible. He used to think he couldn't grow a beard, and look at it now.
Yeah. So Scott pushes you to take on this barbershop, and this was about 5 years ago at this point.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And when you took it over, what do you remember from that time? What was,
just being terrified, being like, I can't. Why are we doing this? I've always been like more of a behind the scenes person. I love cutting hair. I've always loved cutting hair. I love my clients. I always say that, this is my social hour. I have 2 kids, a son and a daughter, 8 and 6, and my house is chaotic. And so I always say, when I'm there, that's my happy place. We can blast music and burn a candle and talk crap to all my friends all day. And that's
that's why
that's what we do. And and Jesse is the crap talker, stirs things up the most. So we can't survive without our crap talking clients. So
what were some of those the biggest learning curves for you when you were starting, especially since you've made it clear like you had no intentions. Really. Thank God I paid attention somewhat from all the different, I see this a lot. I've worked at corporate salons, corporate barbershops, private salons, private barbershops, and they all are run so differently. And, we do a little bit of a hybrid, almost where we're at, where with between booth rent and, I just wanted it to be where me, Kat, and Cody had somewhere like a safe space that we could go and we can, make money and be with our clients and provide, things that work for our clients and things that work for us. And we can go home to our families and take off when we need to and be with our kids and, and it's worked out that way. The thing that was the hardest, I think,
to do was just business aspect.
And what did you do to try to learn some of those business aspects?
Just tapped into my 1.5 years of Olivet that I went to.
You're like, what was that one class I took?
There? Something about econ. What was his name? Professor Cook, Econ 101, all of that. So just learning how to order things. And that was part of the fun part too, is kind of, we knew that with our products, we didn't want to do like crew or something that everywhere had, we really wanted to like dig and personalize and try to find like smaller batched companies that we can sell and help out. And I feel like that just goes along with just supporting small businesses. We just love that. Yeah,
I know Scott has told me that some of the products you have are from like small businesses in like Tennessee and things like that.
Yeah, Chattanooga Beer Company. Those guys are awesome. They started out just like we did. They're a small 3-person barbershop that just started homemaking their stuff and entering them into competitions and just have been doing awesome doing that. So, we love them. And, to us, that's just part of it, just supporting small and local, everything we can. And it's just worked out this far.
You've been at a lot of different salons and or just haircutteries and things like that. And you were talking about how when you took over and made Urban Barbershop, you kind of went at it at a hybrid kind of thing. Do you want to kind of explain like what some of the culture is like in the corporate salons and then like the private ones?
Yeah.
I know you kind of mentioned, booth space, like how does it typically work in those corporate
So usually in
like
corporate salons, they would be commission based. So they take like a significant amount of each service that you provide. Usually they have a lot of control over your hours, how often you have to be there, the different services that you can provide. And then, it's like from that extreme to, unfortunately with barbershops specifically, they have a bad reputation with being kind of, sloppy, hit or miss. A lot of barbers sometimes will be running hours late if they show up at all. That's just everybody has a story about that happening to them. And so I wanted to take the structure and consistency that like a corporate place could provide with, the laid back, and tailorable atmosphere of like a private place. It's like, why can't we have both consistency and, just being able to tailor to like our guests. Mm-hmm. So that's just really, us three have been on the same page with that from day one, and I'm just so grateful for them because without them, it would just be me and no one wants to just hear me talk all day. So,
well, that's what you're doing now. I'm enjoying it. So yeah, because you're pointing it out about barber shops not always being dependable and things like that. I remember some of the barbers that, my dad would go to or my grandpa would go to. It was so weird to me that they would go to the barbers, but they wouldn't be making appointments. It was like on a first come, first serve basis. And they talk about, there were like 5 guys ahead of me.
They could be there all day.
Right. Right. They could be there all day. And it's like, it took forever to get my hair cut. And I'm like, gosh, that sounds awful.
And that's, what's so funny about that is there are some guys that like crave that still, that's part of that old school barbershop culture where it's like,
becomes a social.
Yes.
And, it's funny how the men give women crap for the beauty parlor.
Oh, they hear about it from me being a woman and a wife. All of our guys, they hear my point of view on everything, whether they want to or not. They always talk about that, about how their wives like will spend hours at their place and
their salon. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. But the guys that crave that too.
They do. And that was another huge part about Urban Barbershop and just the foundation that I went on that. And a big reason why I wanted to go to barber school was because I noticed, kind of like a shift, with guys almost like craving that pampering, asking more questions about, what should I do with this or how should I style this? And just getting more comfortable with me asking me things like that. And, I wanted a place where they would feel comfortable to do that, where if guys had no idea how to trim up their eyebrows or, we do offer eyebrow waxing, nose waxing, ear waxing.
Yeah. The older you get, the more there is, at least for the guys anyway.
Exactly.
It's like the opposite
but it's
for women.
necessary. And that's one thing that I love to push. I love that we have Cody, and then we have Cody and we have me and Kat. And so they kind of get both point of views and, I'll let you know if you need your ears waxed, and we're a safe space where guys can be like, okay, yeah, let's do that. Guys deserve to get styled up and, cleaned out. Why shouldn't they? So,
well, you always make Jesse and Logan look so good. Every time I see them, I'm just like, man, their hair.
Logan's hair specifically, it's like a wig. It's perfect always.
It really is. Every time, even before I worked at
that
Pathfinder, I would see Logan. I'm just like, man, the hair. It looks so good.
Can you imagine a Logan hair with a Dwayne beard? The world couldn't handle it.
No.
It couldn't.
Right.
We couldn't handle it.
Yeah. This has been so much fun. I know we could go on forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
And I don't know what else you want to touch on. I would love to hear if there's something specifically that you want to touch on about yourself or, Urban Barbershop. I mean,
we're just so, me, Kat, and Cody, we're just so grateful to be able to be in business this long, and just through a pandemic. It's hard to imagine that our first year of business, started in the pandemic and that people are still, wanting to come see us. We are mind blown every week when we have people that have book appointments. Mm-hmm. And so, we are just so grateful. And it's been so exciting to see just how much this area has changed. It's so exciting, and you guys and Pathfinder and, just everyone, Pigosh, people who are just willing to invest into this area. It's just mind blowing and just so humbling. And we're just really excited that we got to be here and be a part of it and see how it goes. I keep saying in 3 to 5 years, it's going to look like a whole different city.
I think we said this before we were recording, but for those that don't know, Urban Barbershop is on Schuyler, almost directly at the corner of Schuyler and Court Street.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You're right across from Pigosh.
Yeah.
Their new office there. What are you most excited about that is in the works now? Or
so we love Merchant Street. Like I said, we are huge fans of the music scene. And it seems like every year we just keep getting more and more festivals and events like that. And we love being so close, right in the thick of all of that. And being able to prop our door open and, for the sunset strolls and hear the music. I cannot wait for the Riverfront project. That is so exciting. Like we were saying, people do indeed use the Kankakee bike paths. They use them. We have witnessed it being on the street now. And so just to see, almost everything kind of fused together. The riverfront is, ways down the road. And I just envision all of those empty buildings and, just being full and all of us being connected, and I can't wait for that.
Yeah. I'm excited too.
Yes. Can't happen fast enough. We're so pumped.
Well, Jess, this has been great.
Yeah, this has surprisingly not been as terrifying as I had imagined.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. So that's always my goal and my purpose. So, but yeah, no, thank you so much again. And
thanks for having. Thank you for making me do this.
Well, of course. I mean, it was Jess. Jesse's my boss, so if he tells me to do something. But like I said, even if he never said anything. You were definitely on my radar because, like I said, you and Scott are great people.
That's sweet of you to say.
Doing great things and part of the great initiative to better Kankakee.
It is an initiative.
Yeah,
yes.
It is. Yeah, absolutely. So,
well, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome.